I implement this technique with a Wi-Fi smart scale where you essentially do not look at your weight. Welcome back to Family and Fit. So today we're going to be talking about why I think everybody should have a Wi-Fi scale, a smart scale, especially, well, pretty much anybody that wants to weigh themselves. And there's a couple reasons for that. And I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying that just the luxury of how they're able to track and you're able to get a chart of your overall progression with your body weight, whether it be going up or down or however, you get a scale that you're able to look at, a chart that you're able to look at and show how your weight's fluctuating, how your weight is going up and down. But there's even more important topic than that, and I think this one's a huge one. I think this one's a huge one for anybody who struggles with getting on a scale and weighing themselves. So if you're one of those people that gets on the scale and you look down at the number and you're like, oh my God, I'm not making any progress, or why ain't this number moving? And you're just getting so discouraged and so depressed about it that you just don't even want to go through the process anymore and you almost want to give up on fitness. Now, if that's how you're feeling about jumping on the scale, then I implement this technique with a Wi-Fi smart scale where you essentially do not look at your weight. You get on the scale and you just do not look at it. Literally can blindfold yourself, jump on the scale, weigh yourself, get off, and don't even look at the number whatsoever. And then you can periodically look at that number, say for instance every week or every month, and just see how you're progressing, see how your numbers are fluctuating, especially for really learning about your body. 'Cause you have to understand how your weight is fluctuating from the morning to the evening, from whenever you eat a meal to whenever you haven't eaten a meal. So before you ate a meal and after you've ate a meal, how much your weight has fluctuated during that period. And everybody's different. So that's a very big thing on why I believe people should do it. Now, I think in the future what's going to end up happening is doctors and everything will actually be able to look at scale numbers. They'll be able to look at these Fitbits and all these other devices out there that are health trackers, and we will be able to get a better understanding of health and fitness and what our bodies truly need. I think that at some point in time you'll be able to pull up an app on your phone or whatever device we have in the future, and you'll be able to look at every metric of your body. You'll be able to look at your heart rate, and it's going to track your heart rate all day throughout the day, and it's going to average it out. It's going to scale everything, and all this data is going to be documented, and it's just going to help overall human health for our future generations. And I think it's such an important thing for you to be able to learn this stuff for yourself. Now, even though these may not necessarily be connected to a database where doctors are using this information right now, I think it's very important for you to know how your body's acting and how it's reacting to certain foods. Say, for instance, if you decide to try keto for a while and you want to see how your body's reacting to it, you have to have a general understanding of where your body was at before you even started. So after you go into keto, you have general numbers of how your weight's fluctuating, and now when you start keto, your numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit differently, or maybe it reacts the same, and maybe you see a super dip, and then maybe you see a plateau, and then you can switch to a high carb diet, low fat, and you may see the numbers dip down again. And there's different diet techniques to be able to break through plateaus, and it's very important to know your body to be able to know whether you should change something up or just overall if what you're doing is working for you. So before I get into any other tips, I'm going to show you all the scale that I got. So I got the Nokia Bodyweight Cardio. Now this scale right here is a pretty solid scale. I really like it. There are some things that are downfalls about it, and I'll insert a clip of how this thing goes through and the different metrics it gives you. Now it actually offers quite a bit more stuff than what I have listed here on this little clip, and that's just because a lot of the things that I don't necessarily care about. Alright, so I'm going to go into some of these things that this scale has to offer. You can do your steps, your weight, your fat mass, your heart rate, your remaining calories, bone mass, blood pressure, BMI, muscle mass, body water, height. Now, all these things are not necessarily things that this in particular scale can give you. A lot of it's if you have other fitness devices that go with this, say for instance your steps. But then if you have a smartphone, your steps can actually be recorded with your phone, and then it includes it into the app. So that's a major plus. Now, one of my favorite things about this scale and why I got this scale here is because the app actually allows you to transfer the data to, say for instance, if you use Google Health or MyFitnessPal or almost any other fitness app. This this scale right here is almost compatible with all fitness apps. And that right there is a major benefit for me, because if I ever decide to go with like a Fitbit or, you know, I like Google products a lot. I kind of played around with the Google Health thing a little bit. I'm not really a big fan of it, and that's just because I haven't had a lot of experience with it. But I use my MyFitnessPal a lot, and it's just nice being able to take all that information over to there, and then you don't have to like enter your weight on MyFitnessPal. Like, it just automatically tracks all that stuff. And right now I'm just using the Nokia app, which is actually which is HealthMate, and it's pretty decent. I'll go ahead and insert like a chart of like my scale, maybe even insert some screenshots of some of the other user interfaces. That this app has to offer. Another really cool thing about this scale is that you can recharge it. It's a rechargeable scale. Now, I'd much rather recharge it than have to put batteries, because a lot of times when I look at having to get batteries for things, I look at that as a hassle. To me, charging this thing, it's not that big of a deal. It uses an Android charger. It's nothing fancy. So I think everybody has Android chargers laying around their house. So it's just, to me, I don't like adding batteries to things, so that's a super convenient thing. Overall, I do think the scale is a very good scale. It seems to be pretty accurate. I love the fact that you can use multiple users of this scale. And if you do want to get this scale, I will have a link down in the description below. It'll be like my weight scale or something like that. I also have like protein powders, all the other fitness things that I use will be linked down below as well. So if you want to help us out on this YouTube channel, that's a way you can do it. You can actually just click on the link and then go buy something else. And actually go buy something else off of Amazon, and that will actually help our channel and help us fund being able to put out more content and just overall make sure we can keep on doing this thing. You can have, I think that's like up to like 10 users. Maybe it's not that many, but you can have at least like 4 users or something like that. So if you have a lot of like family members in your house or kids, they can all have their own account. So it'll be able to track every member of the house, and they'll have their own chart, and they can have their app signed in on their phone, and they'll all be able to see their data as they go along, and you don't have to worry about organizing it. You don't have to worry about writing anything down. So that's a super plus. Now, one of the things that I do not really care for on this scale is, like, it does not seem like the body fat percentage is very accurate at all. Not even like really for myself. Like, I've lost 10 pounds, and it said I went from like 20% body fat to like 17% body fat. And one, I don't even think I was nowhere near 20% body fat to start off with. It's possible, you know, I'm not going to go ahead and completely throw that out the window, but I'm like 99.9% sure that I'm not 17% body fat, which is what I'm saying I'm at now. I think I'm definitely a lot leaner than that. I'm probably more like 12% and maybe even less. So there are a few metrics of this scale that are not completely accurate. The main thing I care about is the weight, the users that you can add to it, and the fact that it gives you a chart that you can look at. Now, going back to why I think that, you know, this is such a good scale is, like I said, like the fact that you can just get on the scale and not have to worry about weighing yourself is such a big deal. I think that that's so underestimated. Like, people need to utilize this technology. It's amazing, you know? Not having to track anything, and it just does it for you. Like I said in the beginning, the main thing is just learning how your body trends. Like, learning, like, what you weigh in the morning versus the evening, what you weigh before you eat a meal versus after you eat a meal. Now, some of that stuff you'll have to document yourself, because I don't think it gives you the ability to say, okay, this was before a meal or this was after a meal. But I always do my weigh-ins the same every day, so I'll weigh in the morning. I'll weigh in the morning as soon as I wake up, generally after I use the restroom, and then I'll weigh myself as soon as I come home from work. And then I'll also weigh myself either after my last meal of the day or right before bed. And I generally try to keep that right about the same, and I try to weigh myself 3 times a day if I can remember. Now, that doesn't always happen, but that's okay. And something I've been utilizing the scale for right now is I've been doing refeeds, and that's something that I'm going to be making a video on coming out here soon. And I'm doing these refeeds just to ensure that I'm keeping my metabolism right, whatnot. Matter of fact, we're just going to skip all the topics of that. You're going to have to subscribe, hit that subular button and notification bell. That way you can get the content on that and how I'm executing my diet break. But point being is this diet break is causing my weight to fluctuate and things to change, and it actually, by looking at the scale number, kind of looks like my numbers are plateauing. Now, this is something that I'm gonna have to look at for the next like week or so, and I'm gonna have to like see how my numbers are going up and down. And instead of me having to write this down every single time and then chart it out and average it out myself, I can physically look at the scale and see if like the overall numbers are trending down. So I'm gonna say like this is your upper limit, this is your lower limit. Most of the time you'll have your higher limit above your lower limit. So say for instance, your low weigh-in might be 165 pounds, but maybe your high weigh-in is 170 pounds. Now, you might hit a new weigh-in of 161, but your high weigh-in will still be 166. Now, overall, the weight is trending down, but you still have a weigh-in that was higher than your lowest weigh-in. So you're like, you may jump on the scale and be like, 166, holy crap, why am I weighing more than I did the last time when I was 165? And say for instance it went 165, this is how your weigh-ins went. 165, 164, 163, 162, 166. And you're like, what the hell? Like my weight was dropping down quickly and now all of a sudden it's up here. Well, it might be because you just weigh it in at a different time of the day, and it actually will track that stuff for you. It'll track like what time of the day you weighed in. So that way you know things like that, and you're able to say, oh, well, that's why this weight right here, this weigh-in, I did it at a different time. And that's a major deal, because that might get you so depressed that you're like, that's it, I quit, I give up. You know, even though you had day after day of like great progress, and then boom, it reverted back. Now, especially with females, the females can go through this pretty dramatically because with their menstrual cycle, a lot of times when it's period time, you know, that weight shoots way up and you get way bloated, and like, so overall just everything looks worse, the numbers look worse, you physically look worse, and that's just part of the process for women. And it can be very discouraging through that period of time. But maybe you pull out your phone and be like, oh, I noticed on the 13th of every month, or the 13th through the 18th every month, I'm like way higher in my weigh-ins, and you'd be like, you may ask yourself why, and then when you say why, but oh, that's right, I'm generally on my period during that period of time of the month, and so therefore you can pin down why that number is fluctuating, why it's shooting up, and why your weight is spiking up during those periods of time. And in turn, making you not feel as depressed about it, not feeling as discouraged about it, and overall feeling better about your progress. I highly recommend that everybody weigh themselves daily, multiple times per day. And if you're just not one of those people that can do that, then a smart scale is perfect for you, because then you're able to not look at the scale, not get discouraged, especially on a daily basis. Why get discouraged on a daily basis, especially if you look at that number and you hate that number? You know, maybe if you're 300 pounds and you're way overweight, and every time you see that number you just feel like garbage, then it's not healthy for you to get on the scale. It just makes sense. Like, don't look at the number. Like, and some people will debate me about this, and that's one thing that I try to do on this YouTube channel is like, I don't really care what people agree with and disagree with. I'm going to speak my opinion and overall my approach to things and what I think is the proper way of going about doing this. Now, some people will be like, oh, that's stupid for you to weigh yourself every day, or some people may be like, if it makes somebody depressed, then maybe they shouldn't weigh themselves at all. And then other people say, oh yeah, weigh yourself every single day. You know, everybody's got their own opinion on what matters and what doesn't matter. And this gives you the ability to get the best of both worlds. It gives you the ability to weigh yourself every day, but yet not get the psychological discouragement that you might get on a regular scale. Because then you actually have to look at that number, unless you have somebody there with you to write down the number and then not tell you what that number is. So I definitely think this is a great approach. If you have any more questions regarding the scale or any other fitness topic, put it down in the comments below. I highly appreciate it. I love the feedback from you guys, so let me know if there's anything else I can add to this video. Maybe I'll do a part 2 at some point in time. I just want to go over the main topic and reason why I thought this scale was so important to have. And not necessarily this scale in particular, but any scale that gives you this smart feature and this ability to automatically track your weight and you not have to look at the number at all. Guys, that's a wrap. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Make sure you're hitting that subular button and that ring-a-dinger bell or whatever. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.